realize just as I start the stream that Jenny and Starla are in the wrong spots. But we're broadcasting, so hello everyone, and welcome to Adventure on so many levels. We're going to play some Dungeons and Dragons.
D
Dungeons and Dragons.
Dragons.
I'm Christiana Ellis, and I am the Dungeon Master. Our players tonight, Jenny Meltzer as Zaylene.
Ooh.
Paul Fisher as Zinhorn Windborn.
Oh, we're gonna go.
To shift my chair just a little bit and need to shift my microphone stand so it's still in the right place. And for that, I have to shift my sleeping dog, alas. Starla Hutchton as Carolina Swift.
Hello, friends.
And Mark Kilfoyle as Nedry Shiny Rock.
I feel like I have a whole lot of other questions now.
So, when last we left the Pocket Protectors, what we found was that they were reunited with their friend and patron, Lord Yobert Relenth, and their other friends aboard the flying castle Sunia di un Torbello, including Sunia herself, the spirit that inhabits the castle, Surashana, the eccentric adventurer, Brennan, the friendly orc, and of course your previous adventuring companion, Sequential, and sidekick, Evan. All of these people were happy to see you, and you got to catch up. And then in the morning, you went and had brunch with the your new Empire assigned colleague, who was an Eric Hokra by the name of Ivy, who introduced herself to you. She seems well educated at the very least and polite. And so she introduced herself to you over brunch. But also during part of this brunch, Nedry seemed to be displaying some unusual behavior and or powers. I guess not or, just and. Behavior and powers. And so I guess what I want to just quick check in on is you actually left brunch early to kind of wander home, and we last saw you just sort of freezing up the air in an alley. So did you go ahead and make your way back to the castle after that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, question. Ivy, as we discussed last week, had established that she is essentially now reporting for duty. You told her that you were intending to spend the next week or so still making other preparations and everything in town before you depart. But I guess her question is, like, she does have a place to stay if you're not ready for her to join you in the castle. But she is essentially, as mentioned, reporting for duty. So the question is, I guess, are you inviting her back to the castle, or are you expecting her to meet you on the departure day?
Well, I think for my part, I was thinking she would probably come now and get everything settled before we get on the road and meet everyone, have a chance to kind of get the lay of the land, so to speak.
Set up her little spy beacons around the castle.
And if we're all too much, she can always like go off and do her own thing for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do that when we're in the air.
Yeah. So we're beginning this session in downtime mode. I think over the course of the next couple of days, she does come and join you at the castle. She is delighted to meet Sunia and ask her all about the nature of material plane flying castles versus the flying castles she's familiar with in the elemental plane of air. She is, polite and friendly with everybody else. She follows the advice she was given, which was to try to not come on too strong to Sorashana, who remains shy for the moment at least. And she's basically kind of working her way in. She asks if you have any briefing materials you would like her to look over in the week to come before you set out.
Oh, I imagine Nedry has books, but being a bard, I would likely just start telling her all of this stuff. Like she
Mhm.
could take notes if she wants, but I would just be like constantly. And then we did this, and then we went here, and then we met this person, and
Well, so certainly she does want she requested that she have some time with each of you one on one for a brief interview, just to kind of, you know, compare the person to the dossier that she's already read, because she says although she has been given some briefings about who you are, each of you, she doesn't she knows that doesn't substitute for meeting the actual person, and so that's what she's looking to do. And so she would be looking to do that over the course of this week as well. But so in as we're getting into downtime mode here, what are each of you spending this week doing?
I'm
Uh,
going. Go ahead, Paul.
I am going to help Evan get his new armor fitted properly and do some fighter training with him. I'm going to invite Ivy to join us so I can get an idea of her fighting style.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to start learning those aerial drills that she was talking about so I
Sure.
can improve my flying.
Okay. So that probably works for the training downtime activity.
Okay.
So first of all, what I would say is that you find that she is, as she mentioned, quite skilled at flying with a like an acrobatic bent. She's very agile and fast in that regard. She tends to try to keep a distance in terms of fighting style. She would much rather kind of stay at range if she can, but she is also very good at setting up other people for success. Mechanically, she has an empowered help action where she can give you bonuses if she helps you do a thing rather than her doing her separate thing.
Oh, cool.
So that she works well as a team is how she describes it. That's her big deal. But let's look at our training here now. Per the downtime activity, if you were going to be picking up like an actual skill proficiency or something, that takes more than a week to do. But in the meantime, though, let's let's see. We're going to roll a d10 to see if you have any kind of a complication as part of your training. You want to roll a d10 for me, Sinhorn?
Sure. 7.
Okay. Fortunately, you don't have any complications, and so I think all of you you're just kind of getting more familiar with each other's uh, styles. And Ivy shows you a few of these drills that she learned as part of her wind lacrosse training, and it's a lot of it. You find, I think, that you know she's working your muscles in a little bit of a different way than you expected, but you've been kind of sort of brute strengthening your flying so far, but she is helping you learn how to kind of trust the currents a little bit more and not have to work quite so hard. Um, and I think you see potential in those exercises, but it'll be a while before fully reap the benefits.
Okay.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Evan is continuing to drill his stuff. He's pretty good. He's a determined fighter, and he's not bad when it comes to using his swinging his short sword around.
Alrighty.
Yeah. Let's see. What is your intelligence modifier, Sinhorn?
Modifiers +0.
Okay. Actually, I think intelligence wouldn't make sense in this context. So I guess your strength, I think, is +3. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. Yeah. So you think that it would be like 7 weeks worth of training downtime to like officially learn like a new proficiency or mechanically level something up. And the things that we
Okay.
might level up if you do a lot of downtime in the future are things like maybe your fly speed, becomes like an official fly speed. Maybe it even increases speed, for example. Things like that could happen.
Okay.
Okay, so a lot of training there. Um, what about anything else that you get up to, or that's mostly what you spend your time doing?
Gonna spend the time during the day doing that, and in the evening, head over to the orphanage and the hospital. Like switch off between the two, do some healing, help get some kids to bed,
Mm-hmm.
prep food, do whatever needs to be done.
Sure, sure. We could probably call that some religious service as well. Um,
Mhm.
how about you make um, either a religion or a persuasion check as you like?
Uh, Persuasion is going to be better than religion for me.
Mm-hmm.
An 11.
Okay. So I think you managed to help out with the church. I think what you would you be so I think what you're doing is while the orphanage is getting started with sort of the organizational stuff of renovating the old reclaimers mansion, some of the people who need to go over and do that would normally be kind of more like monitoring the kids. So you're kind of picking up some of the slack there for now while doing that. And I think that in particular, there's one kid who uh, you discover um, connects with you in a way that he hadn't really been with some of the others, and I think you persuade him to be a little bit more willing to engage with the lessons he's being learned, being taught, as opposed to just sort of, you know, looking for the way out or to find something else. And uh, you get the feeling that he feels like you did him a favor by convincing him that this place was worthwhile and that perhaps he would be willing to do a favor for you in return if you should ever need one.
Um,
Yeah. Okay, so Zaleen, what do you get up to?
I'm going to like at twilight. I'm gonna head out and just sort of like wander through the city looking for people who prefer the shadows, seeing if I can find anybody else who shares my religious proclivities.
Well, so there are probably more efficient ways to find other people who might worship the Mistress of the Dark other than just wandering around the streets at dusk. But so you could, however, just sort of trust the divine will of the Mistress of the Dark in that way. So is that what you do, or do you choose to like investigate and try to find out if there's anything organized?
I will investigate before I head out.
Okay. Well, in that case, how about you make an either an investigation or a religion check for me?
18.
Okay, that's pretty good. Um, I think you discover that there are, in fact, some small enclaves of people that worship the Mistress of the Dark. Like-minded people, and how as you might guess, they tend to not be ostentatious in their display. They are the sort of you know they're not the big cathedral sort. They are the it's a just an ordinary looking door in an alley somewhere that actually opens into a nice and tasteful sort of place where people can relax and talk and discuss and study and all of these sorts of things in a kind of subtle, subdued environment compared to like a big, you know, display where everybody sees and there's lots of sort of elaborate worship. considered to be something where you can discuss it all with like-minded, people, but at the same time, it's really very much not the sort of thing where there are, big spoken aloud prayers and big ceremonies. It's really more of a private thing with each person. But you nonetheless can still find a community of people who understand kind of what you're doing, what you're looking for.
Are there other clerics like within this little community?
Yeah, you in the one that you find there is a cleric who's she is of the grave domain and welcomes you.
And I will just like I will talk to her about like her experience and like how she got to follow this path and
Mm-hmm.
just to sort of understand like her relationship with the Mistress of the Dark.
Um, I think she tells you this is a human woman, and she says that when she was very young, she had an illness that left her precariously close to death for quite a while, and there were times where she found herself almost wishing to just not to end it herself, but like that it would feel like it was a relief, but she found in that sort of a twilight feeling a solace of saying, um, there will be a time for that comfort, but that time for you is not yet, and instead I would like you to talk to other people about the idea that perhaps it is not always something to fear, that it can be in its own way a blessing in some circumstances. And
I was just gonna say that's interesting. Like that's a like it gave me an idea to maybe go to like hospitals or clinics and sort of like offer that kind of peaceful relief to people who are like right on the edge.
mhm.
But
Yeah, she definitely tells you that she thinks that's a very valuable and noble pursuit, but it's something you need to be careful with because it can conflict with some of the um, other domains around the city where the intent is always to say, pray to be miraculously healed, and that's what you should do, and you should never give up, and it's always, that's always what you should ask for, even though for everyone it's inevitable that it will eventually come to something, and so it's a balance thing. Um, yeah, so you spend your time kind of studying over there, and
yeah,
okay.
like I will go back there like every day that we're here and sort of like meet the people and talk to people about their different experiences.
Hmm. Well, because the other piece of the whole thing is, of course, that although there is, those elements to it too, there is also very much the idea that, but there is still work to do, and
Mm-hmm.
you do it while you can. And, it's not about giving up, it's about doing what you can while you can, but then, understanding that eventually everyone's time comes. But okay, so uh, when you have your interview period with Ivy, are you what's your demeanor towards her?
I'm congenial with her.
Mm-hmm.
I ask her questions because I know she did say that she did some religious studies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I would talk to her about that. I would talk to her about her knowledge and understanding of magic and things like that, like its
Mm-hmm.
origins and how it works for different types of casters and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that.
She is someone who has studied a lot of arcana texts and so on, even though she does not practice it, and she knows that that's in some circles that's kind of seen as unusual. Why would you study magic if you're not trying to be a wizard or to, enhance your own abilities. But she really approaches it more from a matter of how it shapes your understanding of other forces in the world, like history and religion and so on. It's more about the pursuit of knowledge for her.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's about all I would get up to. Like,
Okay.
I know that Carolina and I were talking about maybe going to that club that we went to with China, so maybe we would do that too.
Okay.
A bubble night.
I think. I'm trying to think if. Um, I think she would sort of politely thank you for inviting her, but say that she's not entirely comfortable in that kind of an environment. Not in a judgmental way, but just in that she feels awkward there.
We'll just take Evan. It's fine.
Evan thinks that seems really cool.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Carolina?
Didn't really have anything in particular, so probably just, I don't know, tag along with, on people as they go about doing their things. Like, I'd go check out this uh place that Zalene's been going. I got to make sure these people are okay.
Mhm.
You know, um, probably when Zinhorn heads to
Yeah.
the orphanage, I'd probably help entertain children or something. Just
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're really kind of not pursuing anything on your own,
Yeah.
like not going out to like play shows or.
no, I don't think so. I'd probably
Okay.
spend some time getting to know my new instrument.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and practicing the songs I know already, and getting a feel for the new sound of this mandolin where I was used to my lute
Mm-hmm.
before. So it's a different vibe.
Sure. Okay. What about when you're getting your one-on-one with Ivy? How do you approach that?
Um, well, friendly, the way I would approach any new person.
Mm-hmm.
But because I do know, at least at the very least, it's always in the back of my mind that, she is working for someone else to keep an eye on us.
Mm-hmm.
She's a spy. She's nice. She's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I know what she's here for.
Well, and for her part, she is certainly friendly and civil, but she does maintain kind of a professional air about the whole thing. She wants to be friendly and would like you to like her, but she is also like not trying. She's not auditioning to be your best friend. She is hoping to be a colleague on an expedition.
Mhm. Oh, and I definitely think one thing I would take the time to do is have a moment with Nedry, probably as Irinel, and have a little bit of an educational talk. Because one of my hobbies, as you know, is anatomy and physiology. So
As you know, I went right home and I told her all about your premature evocation.
I don't think we actually got the term on the air. It was all typed
No.
last time. So
Now we
home,
do.
that was what
Yeah.
we were joking about and broke up badly about.
Mm.
yeah, so probably would be like, I'm sure Nedry would just be either fascinated like from an academic point or completely embarrassed the whole time. So
It
his reaction is
depends
up to him.
kind of how it gets approached. Yeah. So yeah, because Nedry is you don't see a lot of Nedry over the next while. Because he's going to be spending his time in kind of three ways. One, about 5 to 6 hours a day studying spells, just like intense locker room where you can't find him. He's off studying spells. And then a number of hours in the lab discussing things with Sorshana and with Sequential, trying to understand their perspectives on these things. And so a lot of shop talk. And the third thing would be kind of in the middle of that shop talk, pacing a bit and trying to understand his own reaction to Ivy. And it turns into that sort of moment of the, but I don't understand what's going on. I shouldn't have to. I mean, she's got impressive credentials, that sort of thing. So when it comes to, depending on how Lynn approaches this, he may literally just vanish as he vortexes and warps himself somewhere else and then runs, not really wanting to face that conversation. Certainly, he's not been in a room with Ivy for more than a couple of minutes for the entire week.
Which
Just
is
finding,
definitely something Lynn would note and yeah, confront him gently about that. Like it would be a friendly conversation because they are friends, you know.
So, uh, do you?
and I think,
Well,
yeah, I think Nedry would have a hard time with that conversation.
sure. I would say feel free
Sorry,
to
am
role
I
play it.
breaking up? I'm having some system resources problems here.
Oh, no, I hear you. What I was just going to say is feel free to role play that if you like, or we can say that there's not much to role play because Nedry is kind of avoiding the conversation.
We don't actually have to role play a conversation about the birds and the bees. It's
Mm,
cool.
um, but so for that point, though, I think Ivy does not press with you about the one-on-one because she senses you're feeling nervous? Question mark. But I think she has made it known that she would like to at some point, but she seems to be leaving the ball in your court, so to speak, as far as like you tell her when, as opposed to her pressing for it.
I think for part of that, there's sort of that third party message where she'll walk into the lab looking for Nedry and, oh, he's just left. So she
Mm.
leaves a message with a question and then he answers the question and then she picks up the message somewhere else that he would have left it where she can find it. So a little bit
Okay.
of dodge him for the majority of the week as well.
Okay.
Partially
Okay.
because he's also reformatting his notes and all that as well. So that at the end of the study time with them and with the book, he would actually kind of walk up to her and present her with a book and then run away. And the book is his notes, codified, organized, and the theory is clearly laid out kind of on a lot of this stuff. And he would approach it like an academic. He's completely forgotten that she's a spy. So he's not really holding back on that much. He's just kind of like had to get himself in order. And it's like, there's, you can read this and then kind of walk away.
Okay. So, one other thing, of course, is that as you all spend this week in Pashan, I think you are aware of the kind of slow burn weirdness that's going on here. Like, there aren't any new big like magic storms, but it does feel like just the heat has been turned up a little on the sort of weirdness that would always be there, and it just seems like there's a little bit more going on. There's a little bit of a sense of people aren't really sure. Is it like people feel like they're hearing more weird stories, but then there's always been weird stories, but are there more? It seems like there are, but the authorities are telling them not to worry about it. So I think if you discuss it with Nelson Devereaux at all, he'll say that we've got people who are going to stay in Pashan that can study the things that are happening in Pashan. But given that we think what you're all doing might be related, I'd just as soon have you not waste your time here when you can check our other routes of influence.
Okay.
But that is something you would still probably be aware of, especially as, having been away for a little bit and then coming back. It does feel different. But then one night, towards the end of the week, you are all awakened in the middle of the night you find that there is a tremor that startles you out of your sleep and or meditation, that like shakes the whole castle. And as you kind of come up wake, you sit up, you look around, you see each other awake, but you also see that you know the others there in the room. I'm assuming you're all kind of in that one sort of dormitory area in the castle. Evan and Ivy are both off in their own bunks, and they don't seem to have awakened. So it's just the four of you. But something shook you awake.
Did you guys feel that?
I'm gonna start
Yeah.
looking around, like with my little squinty eyes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm getting my shield and my spear and like
Mhm.
I'm actually gonna go wake up Evan.
You
Like,
can't. He won't wake up.
oh my gosh. I'm gonna
He
like
seems to
slap
just
his
be,
face a little
yeah.
bit.
You do, and his cheek kind of glows pink with your the impact of your slap, but he does not wake up.
Carolina, do you
What do I see when I look at him with my true sight eyes? Nothing,
Nothing,
huh?
nothing different. He looks like he's asleep.
Is the rumbling, is it still going on?
No, it has subsided, but it was definitely enough that it was like it you still felt it shaking a little bit once you were awake, but it has stopped now.
I'm gonna
Did it-
pinch myself.
What?
I want to pinch myself
Okay.
to see if I'm like really awake, like if I'm really present.
You pinch yourself.
Nothing
It hurts.
happens.
I mean, no.
Ouch.
Did
Go to the roof.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's go to the
That was
roof.
my
Okay,
question. If it
sure.
seemed to come from above or below.
Well, I
Sunya,
mean,
what
like the
was
whole
that?
room seemed. She does not answer.
Sunya? Is Sunya asleep? Can the castle sleep? Did we ever test that?
I think
Um,
she rests. I don't know.
You go up to the roof, and instead of the slightly overcast night sky that you would have expected, there's a weird sort of light gray mist that seems to be hanging everywhere in the air, and there are no lights in the city, which is very unusual. But through the mist, you can see various weird strands that almost look like spider web, except that they're like thick. And as you can see, a couple of different strands, they all seem to have sort of like an intersection point that is beyond what you can see through the mist. But you can just see several different strands that all seem to be like leading towards some area.
Are they static or falling?
They are in the air, suspended.
Is there any nearby?
Uh, how close do you want them to be? I think
mean-
there's one that is maybe like 30 feet from the like up and to the side from the roof.
I will like shoot an arrow at that one that's closest to us and see what happens.
Your arrow seems to disappear into it. Like it goes right in without any apparent effect on the strand itself. But then it doesn't like come out the other side.
Try Sacred Flame.
Okay. Your sacred flame just sort of like gives off weird little sparks, almost like a sputtering campfire.
What happens when I use dancing lights?
It works, but they seem kind of oddly muted. They're not as bright as usual.
It'll take me a while to try to find out what kind of magic this is. But it's big. It's strange. Are there any signs of any movement in the city below us?
No, the mist is kind of everywhere, but there's no movement you can see. But as I mentioned, even in the mist, in this part of the city, you would expect to see lights all over the place, and you don't. It's dark.
Does it feel like oppressive and scary, or is it just like, is there a sort of like an atmospheric feel to it?
Make a perception check.
13.
Um, it feels scary in a way that you can't quite put your finger on. Like it feels bad, and like not even just like quiet and calm but lifeless, but like wrong.
Hmm.
We should make sure the rest are okay. I'm sure that Soroshana and Sequential will have something to talk about here. Um, Although I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure where here is.
I don't
I have a
even know if they'll
theory.
respond. I mean, nothing
Mhm.
but us seems to be responding.
What if?
Could be a dream.
Well, I don't know if I would say dream. Everything we've been dealing with has been nightmares. So, I mean, what
Could
if
be.
that's what this is? Like, can we all share a nightmare? That I mean, there's. Hmm.
Well, yes and no.
Maybe.
I've been studying some spells which affect dreams, but usually that's more one-on-one. Then again, wait, no. Um, that was some
Uh,
of the things we were reading about, that Denetherian magic might be drawn from dreams, as are the nightmares.
um, as you're talking, suddenly there is a tremor that passes along all of these strands that you can see in the air, and with it there's this sort of vibratory sound, almost like the string of a mandolin, say. And you can almost in there hear a voice saying, "Come here now."
Is it at all familiar as term as a voice?
It is the adversary.
Bankers.
Good grief. This
Interesting.
guy.
Apparently, he's gained more power. I was rather afraid of
He's
that.
got the circlet now.
Well, he said come here, but where is here?
Well, it might have a direction to it. I want to try something.
And I'm going to try to believe that I can fly. This is testing his
Okay.
dream theory
Uh-huh,
and seeing
uh-huh.
if his mental fortitude is strong enough to do this.
I think I would like you to make an intelligence check for me.
Sure. Go. That's a 13.
Yeah, it works. It feels a little awkward at first, but you are able to just sort of will yourself into the air.
Okay, this is the test of a theory. It's a little bit constrained, but this is a form of dream, which is good, which means we might have a little bit of agency beyond our own magical and physical abilities. But it also means that this place will not necessarily follow any of the rules that we're familiar with. Interesting. Maybe I should research that spell.
Yeah, but not right now.
Well, this is research of a form.
Yeah.
So,
So how did you cast fly? What are you doing?
nope, it's a dream. Have you ever had a dream in which you felt like you could do things? Well, this is kind of like that. All you have to do is, well, believe, which is a little bit like magic, only a little more freeform, I think.
But I don't really dream.
Oh, well, this is going to be really new to you then. Um, so, imagine a world. I'm sure you can imagine things, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, this is sort of like that, except it's sort of brought to you rather than coming from you. Except in this dream, we might be able to actually make things happen. So it's sort of like you're bringing it as well. This might be harder to explain than I thought. Um,
Hmm.
well, you
So I
believe in
just
stuff.
think really hard about it and think I can fly and feel like I can fly and assume I can fly. So I could just fly if I want to.
Go ahead and make an intelligence check with advantage because you've literally seen someone do it and explain what's happening.
Check with advantage. Hold on, I gotta. Where's the thing? Nope. Okay, I'm just gonna roll twice. 3 times. Okay, it's a 10 and a 12.
Okay. Well, that's enough. You are able to also like it still feels awkward and like you're having to sort of fight against something, but you are able to will yourself into the air alongside Nedry.
This is weird.
Isn't it though? It's a whole new realm of magic, really.
I'm gonna pull up the hood of my Peewafwee,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna like hold out my arms and imagine that they're like bat wings.
Nice. Go ahead and do your own check with advantage.
Did you say intelligence?
Yeah.
13.
Yep. You are successful. What about you, Zinhorn?
I'm just gonna fly.
Okay. You find that you just doing what you ordinarily do, even as practiced as you are, doesn't seem to work. It feels like your feet are stuck.
All right.
You can
uh,
Happy
swim.
thoughts.
Swim, Zinhorn.
There
Um,
can
you
be
can-
miracles if you believe.
You can make an intelligence check with advantage.
okay. That would be should be an 18.
All right. Well, that will certainly do. So the four of you now have managed to will yourselves into the air and are able to fly. And as I mentioned previously, you see these various strands that all seem to be heading towards some central location. It's just that they recede into the mist before you can see where they meet.
Is that in towards the city or out away from the city?
Well, you're kind of in the middle of a big city, so it's like there's not really one direction that's in and another direction that's out.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's likely to be in there.
All right, so you follow in that direction, and as emerging from the mist, you see this horrible, pulsating knot of strands that is writhing and roiling and swirling around with very unsettling, almost like oily, slick tendrils that seem to be sort of just constantly wrapping around each other. But then it starts to kind of shudder, and a bulge of it starts emerging out, and it's stretching out, and you can see it's almost like something's pushing out from the inside. And then just as it starts to reach the point where it can't push any farther, you see two little hands pull out, and you can see the face of Percival Kenkers in there. He's completely wrapped up in these strands, but you can just see him, and he says, "It would appear that the extraordinary difficulty of my undertaking has temporarily left me unable to do what must be done. Were the stakes not so high, I would rather melt half my prodigious brain rather than rely on imbeciles and amateurs, but the lives and souls of billions depend on you releasing me from this psychic snare. So stop wasting time and help me, you fools."
Yeah, that's going to be a hard no.
You've done nothing but try to interfere and destroy us. This is your own doing. Whatever this is.
Looks like you deserve it.
Although I'm confused. You certainly didn't have that sort of vocabulary last time we were talking to you.
He looks just furious, but before he can say anything else, these strands all wrap around him again and pull him back inside.
I would feel bad just leaving him here.
Would you really? Would you? I mean, really?
I
Given
feel worse about
everything
this
he's
not staying
done.
here.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's done to create this or catch himself in this, or if he's awakened something. I don't really know what this is, but it can't be good.
As
Maybe-
you're there near it, you can start to see that now that you're in the center of it, you realize that there is actually something from all of these different strands that seem to shoot off in every direction. There is a general sort of soft pulsing that looks like each of those is almost maybe a conduit for something, drawing something from wherever it reaches into the center, which is expanding as you watch.
Hmm.
It looks just toxic and awful.
Um, I'm going to take out my rapier and I'm gonna hit one of the strands. Try to
Uh,
maybe
your
break it.
your rapier is pulled out of your hand and disappears into the strand.
Hmm,
What if,
that
I
didn't
mean,
work.
we can fly. What if I imagine I have like a giant cheese slicer in my hand? Would that work? Like to try to slice it?
I
Cheese
mean,
slicer?
Yeah. You ever see a cheese slicer? It's like a string, like a
make
metal
another
string.
intelligence check. This one not at advantage.
I mean, I don't think of cheese when I see this thing.
I think of slicing. 18.
18. Yeah, you sort of manifest one, but it's sort of a little bit strange and spectral.
Are
I
the
Right back.
I will use it to like chop down on one of these tendrils and see what happens.
Again, so make a strength saving throw.
Strength 16.
You manage to avoid being pulled into the strand along with the slicer you've made.
are the pulses coming from outside going to the knot or the other way? From the knot going out.
From the outside to the knot, and the knot is getting bigger. And in fact, as you watch, all of a sudden the strands all seem to sort of contract almost like muscle fibers, and you sense the city below shaking and some of the buildings start to crumble.
Maybe we can get rid of them at the source. I'm gonna look at one of these strands and I'm gonna follow it to wherever it's going.
It recedes off into the distance.
Hmm.
There are a couple that seem to head towards the ground.
I'll follow one of those.
Okay. As you follow it, you're trying to look for one. There are some that seem like they just go right through a building or whatever, like with no like opening. It just seems to go into it and be able to pass through it without difficulty. But you eventually find one that is just going to a spot on the ground, and you see a person there looking unconscious but in distress, like they're having a bad dream, and this thing is like pulling from them.
Oh, Sinhorn. Come back and take out the pipe.
I think I am going to try hold on. Dispel magic.
As you try to cast the spell, you suddenly see a branch from that tendril whip out towards you. Make a dexterity
Oh.
saving throw.
23.
Okay, you are able to avoid it, but you get the sense that the magic that you even just started to cast, you didn't even get the spell off before it detected that and tried to lunge for you.
Hmm.
I feel like this is the culmination of all of the adversaries Nonsense.
There's another tremor, and you can see that big buildings are starting to fall in the city, and the ground is shaking. And you can see this thing is much bigger now. It is almost the size of a mountain hovering there above the city.
Zinhor
I know-
needs to use the pipe.
I'm not sure if one nightmare is enough here.
I know, but
And Nedry will cast Detect Nightmare.
Okay, make a dexterity saving throw.
22. Natural
Okay,
20.
you manage to avoid it also, as you realize again before you even manage to get the spell out. This thing whips out at you, and you just barely are able to jump out of the way.
Hmm.
So it can sense
Well-
magic being used. That's useful.
I know a song, but I would have to be singing it for 5 minutes, and usually it's supposed to be before people fall asleep. So I don't even know if it would work in this scenario.
well,
Well,
you're
yeah.
the only one way to find out.
It would also detect any magic use before it gets started. So unless that can't be disrupted, there is another way. It's not good.
But
Go in after him.
Uh, are you sure?
We can't do
we've
anything
done
out
it
here.
before.
If we can find him, maybe we can disrupt the connection to him, which seems to be the center point of everything that's going on. I'm not sure exactly how to do that. Normally, I would want to rely upon magic, but this seems to be some sort of magic annihilator of some kind, or detector. But if this is dream,
There's another trembling sound, and this one, you're not even quite sure how you would be able to tell this, but the rumbling seems to come not merely from the ground and structures below you, but somehow it's as if what is shaking is the material plane. Like so, like
Alright.
even the air is shaking.
I'm
Ugh.
I
gonna
wonder
be
if you-
brave, and I'm gonna walk up to the big globule that sucked him in,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna hold a hand out to it.
Okay. I mean, are you resisting the dexterity saving throw that I would make you make?
Nope.
All right. Zaleen is sucked into the thing and she's gone.
here we go again. It's hopefully like the pocket plane we were in before, just a lot bigger, more dangerous, and possibly not even real. Other than that, just normal.
Why are we going after a guy who hired assassins to kill us?
Well, at this point, they're discovering that the entire material plane seems to be under some sort of a strain
Attack.
as a result of this thing getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, buildings are crumbling, and Lynn followed it down, one down to someone who was asleep and writhing, and Magic gets preemptively, I was going to say something bad, slapped.
Yeah, when you try to cast a spell, the thing tries to grab you.
Oh. Okay.
So
That's
the
a
theory is
roll.
that if we can dissect him from this core, since we can't do anything out here, it might be the only solution.
Well, at this point, we don't have any choice because now Zaleen is in there, and I'm just gonna go on in and going to quietly hum Mothlost Lullaby, but I don't think it will do any good.
Mhm. All right. Carolina is also sucked in and she's gone.
All right. Dragon Brothers to the rescue.
Absolutely. On 3,
2,
1.
1.
So, Zaleen, you wake up back in the castle and feel just the briefest hint of like a tremor, like kind of underneath where you're sitting, and then you look over to see Carolina, Zinhorn, and Nedry sort of tossing and turning in their sleep, but they shortly thereafter also wake up.
I'm
And
gonna try to wake up Evan again.
well, so before you even get there, as you're sitting up, you hear Sunia say, "Did the tremor wake you?"
We were
Could say
I
that.
where we dream was everybody there?
What?
You don't
We-
dream, do you?
No.
Neither does Aileen, but that's beside the point. Something big is happening. Is anything happening outside?
No.
Where did the tremor come from?
I'm not sure. I felt it. It came from, certainly the tremor was experienced on the Skyport Tower itself, but it was a small one. There shouldn't have been any damage, I wouldn't think.
We were all
But
dreaming the same dream about this giant thing with all these tendrils reaching out all over, and
so we
To the roof.
flew to that thing,
Yeah.
and at some point I flew down to the ground, and I would think saw kind of where we were in the city.
Yeah. While you run up to the roof, it is only just starting to get a little bit of hint of light in the east of the sky. It's still mostly pretty dark. It's pretty early, but there's no mist. There's no black threads. No sign of the thing you saw before.
I hate to say this, but I think we need to tell the friend of the Emperor about this because I think what's going on here is much bigger than he suspects.
Do you think what we saw is something that's happening now or something that is going to happen?
I mean, it could be, I don't know, on the ethereal plane, maybe like near us, like sort of in proximity.
I
I'm
am
pretty
going
sure it
to
was the
try
plane of
to
dreams.
fly and like levitate, like just like jump from where I am, just to try this out again.
Okay, make an intelligence check.
Like not jumping off the side of the building or
Oh,
anything,
yeah.
but
No, I got
straight up in the air.
Mhm.
Make it make
Ooh,
an intelligence
20,
check
not
followed by
natural.
dexterity.
You are really surprised when it doesn't work.
Okay. So this is either not a dream or a different kind of dream that has more limitations. I'm really confused right now.
Well, there is a spell which can reach out through dreams. That might have been the use of that spell, warped as it was.
Sunia says, I don't think you're dreaming, unless I'm part of the dream, but would I know?
You weren't there last time.
But everything and everyone was dreaming. Like Sunya didn't answer us.
Nobody was awake.
Well, the rumbling was real in both realms, which
Hmm.
means there is an impact, even if it's distant.
Can I squint real hard and see if I can see these threads anywhere?
Yes, you can. Now, obviously, the nearest one to you before was more than 10 feet away, but you don't see any.
Mm.
Now, where the hub was, can we, if Nedry's looking out in that direction off the top of the roof, can he approximate what might be there?
Well, it was above the city. It wasn't like like it wasn't like at a street address, right?
okay.
It was hovering in the air above. But I mean, you can see where it was because there's no mist now, so you can see that far.
Well, at one point we were on ground level, so I was just wondering if I knew where in the city that was.
I mean, yeah, you could go to that spot. It was just in the middle of the street.
We could go there and maybe Zenhorn could use the pipe and see if anything emerges.
Yeah. Nedry can also do a detect nightmare.
It's true. It's limited in range, but I can.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we go to that direct spot, we can check it.
Yeah. All right. Let's go.
Do you want to get Buster? Just in case?
Is something wrong? You suddenly see Sorashana is standing next to you.
We don't know.
Did you have a dream? A strange dream?
Bad dream, creepy dream.
No, I just heard you talking. I felt the tremor.
You may not
Did-
be connected to it the same way then.
Mm. Did Kosh mention anything to you?
No.
No.
We don't know if there's something wrong. But
This may be related to corruption or whatever excessive otherworldly power happens to be connected to us.
What did he call it? A psychic snare? Is that what he called it?
yeah, I think so.
Hmm.
It's entirely possible he either tried to open something else up or found something that was a trap.
I feel like for somebody who talks about how dangerous all this stuff is and that we're dumb fools for even pursuing information about it, he is the biggest idiot in the planes of existence.
Maybe it's that crown thing. Like he was wearing it and it just turned into that big ball of yuck.
No, the crown doesn't have that effect.
How do you
It has
know?
How do
other
you know?
effects.
Maybe that's what it was that was possessing it. Like that's what cursed it, maybe. You don't know.
Well, that's possible. It is
Yeah.
connected
Wear it for
somehow to
long.
all these things.
Yeah.
It might be because he has so many of these things that there's sort of a manifestation, I suppose.
Hmm.
I'm gonna like poke Evan.
I mean, I think he grumbles and turns over.
Come on,
Maybe we've
we're going on a mission.
Huh? What? Okay, I'm ready. And he's like, he's suddenly standing up by his bed, but you can see his eyes are still sort of half asleep. Hmm?
We're
What?
going on a mission.
I think
Is
you're
it-
right,
Oh,
Lynn.
okay.
If we can find that connection to whatever's happening here, if that person is here too, that'll be a starting point.
Is there an extra step I have to take to because I can see into the ethereal plane? Like,
Mhm.
is that an extra step on top of the true sight, or is it
No,
just
the
automatic?
so the ethereal plane kind of overlaps with the material plane, and
Mm.
so there are things in it that you wouldn't be able to see if you can't see the ethereal plane, but it's not like you're seeing a separate place.
Okay.
If that makes sense, right? You see ethereal things. I'm hearing an echo of myself. Is that coming from someone? Someone over? Okay. Well, all right. We'll just deal with it. It's I wanna take a moment to hand wave a little bit your investigation here,
Mhm.
because the short version here is that you don't find anything at that location, and there does not seem to be any sort of residue that you can detect from that location, or even when flying up into the air where you found the thing, you don't seem to be able to detect anything.
Is
Um,
there you mean on the ground or in the air?
Either
either.
And there's no person on the ground either?
Nope.
Hmm.
You don't
I
find
w-
anything in that spot.
we don't have to like role play this, but I would like to actually go see Nelson Devereaux and ask
Sure.
him if they have a lead on Percival Cankers right now. Like if they
Um,
have any information about where he might be.
Mm-hmm. So the short version of this, which I'm only eliding here because we did call the episode to Emershem, so I don't want to necessarily have us take a long time doing something that I know is ultimately not going to be especially fruitful, because that's what I'm telling you now, is that
Mhm.
we'll do the short version of discovering that you can't find the answer this way. But I think Nelson tells you that they don't currently have a lead on his physical whereabouts. They believe that he is not on the material plane present.
Okay.
But he also is definitely has you give your description of what you experienced and what you saw. I think I will just add that the tremor was something that was not just localized to you at the castle, but it was actually something felt everywhere. But at the same time, it's a tremor that has been like of a kind that has happened before, right? It was not severe. It was just a pretty minor thing that happens sometimes.
Like a little
So,
earthquake.
yeah. And it was, so it's not something that I, okay, I'm going to just, again, someone has their audio in a way that my voice is coming back to me just a little bit. So
Well, I was muted, so it's on me.
okay. Well, so, uh, Testing, testing. I don't hear it now.
How about now?
Testing, testing. Yes.
That's weird. I don't understand that.
I don't know. Maybe just volume thing. I don't know. But I mean, if there's anything to be done, that would be good. But otherwise, we maybe if you're just I don't mean to distract, but it is that sort of thing is can be distracting. It's hard to take out of the recording afterwards. Um, but okay, so in any case, he definitely is interested in what you experienced. But he reiterates that he does have other experts that are also following these other leads. And I want to just, I guess, double check. Nedry, you had previously indicated you were willing to have this detect nightmare spell that you would make available to them so that some of the other people, arcane researchers in the city, could learn it. And
Yes.
they have people who are checking for these things and studying these things. But he says, now, please, you're the ones that have been on this longer than me, so tell me if I'm wrong here, but my gut is telling me that even if something is happening here, that the solution for it isn't here, it's wherever this Dienerther place is. I mean, am I wrong?
It's definitely connected, I think.
Maybe it's time to go.
Yeah, I think it's time to get moving.
So I guess what I'm just saying is we have people who are going to stay here and try to figure out what's happening here. What we don't currently have is someone checking the other leads, which is what I would like you all to do.
Can you make sure that
All right.
reports are sent to us? I really want to keep on top of this. I don't know if I'll be able to offer anything, but any information might lead to better theories.
Yeah, sure. We can compare notes for sure.
Is that better?
Are we ready for takeoff?
Testing, testing. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay, great. So Ivy seems like she is. You can detect that she is hiding her disappointment that she didn't get to experience whatever it was that happened to you. But nonetheless, she's eager to begin the expedition. So, was there anything else that you all wanted to do before you embark?
Ready to go, Sunya? I believe in you. I can't wait to see this.
Well, I mean, you did kind of see already, but now you get to ride, and that's yes. So,
Wait, that's so much better.
all right. So, with everyone aboard, provisions restocked and such, you take off. There is a sort of shuddering vibration that sort of resounds out through the castle, but this one seems full of anticipation energy, and you feel yourself you can feel the ground shifting just a bit underneath you. And where are you all watching this from? Are you up on the roof or?
I am
Oh, yeah.
probably hanging out a window going, woo!
And sure enough, like in some ways, a lot of this is very similar to an airship, right? Because the part where you're in a castle is exciting, but you're kind of in the castle. You're not seeing the flying castle, right? So it's like, but you get the part. Well, yeah, I know. I'm just saying that you get the whole part where you get all the same view of the departing airship. It's just that everyone else gets to see the flying castle where you're seeing just the view from flying castle. But certainly there are a lot of people who come out to watch as you are departing. And Sunya is a little bit slower than most of the airships, but given how big she is, and that she is a whole castle made of stone and multiple floors and all of that, is still pretty impressive. And so pretty soon you are aloft and your journey has begun.
I just put my hand on like one of the stones of the castle and I just say, Sunya, you're so much cooler than the bookship. I'm just saying.
Thank you. I know that's high praise coming from you all too. You all have kind of a thing with libraries, it seems like.
Yeah, we never get to them. It's always bad.
And so certainly I think sequential offers to show you all too that you hadn't really spent much time down there except for the occasional brief errand, but now that she's flying, it's a pretty spectacular sight to go down to the engine level and watch these enormous gears turning as they power these little propellers that are underneath.
Nedry's taking it in, and he seems particularly interested, not so much in the propellers, although they're kind of fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly in terms of where they are and
Mm-hmm.
how covered in stone they are,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of looking for anything that might flow into this room.
Okay, when you say flow into this room, what do you mean? Into
If
the
there's
engine room?
open rooms or there's open windows or something, any kind of airflow that rushes in
Which
there.
room do you mean?
So the engine room specifically.
Okay, okay.
Um,
Well,
and he'd
so
explain to Sequential,
I'm just worried in case we have another one of those storms. I want to make sure that Sunya's
so
wings are
the
aloft.
engine and clockworks are sealed from the outside. The propeller is turned through an axle that goes through a floor. So it's not just open to the air there. The propellers themselves are exposed to the air, but not all the gears in the mechanisms inside. But the other thing that you understand as you kind of study it is that there is a lot of spiritual energy that is ultimately powering this whole thing. This is not a castle that would fly on its own without there being a spirit here. It's like if it were just physics, it wouldn't work, right? And so, in some respects, this is not a purely mechanical operation, but in many respects, the gears and propellers and everything are almost more like how you might have sort of small model of something to represent the larger thing happening in a spell, right?
yep.
Um,
He would kind of tap the wall.
Sunya, um, a while ago, I don't exactly remember how long because time flows differently in different dimensions, but that's not the point. There was a storm that raged across the area.
yes,
Did it do
there
anything
was
to you?
there was one that came over Pashan as well. It was very unusual. It felt rather unpleasant, but I don't think it damaged me in any way.
Good. The last time I was on an airship, we got caught in that storm, and it went down, and I don't want that to happen to you.
Well, to be sure, I was still on the Skyport dock when it happened, but I think certainly if we see one, we will try to avoid it.
And if there's anything I can do to help, let me know.
I will, thank you. You also see while you're down there where there is sort of an almost shrine-like control panel where you see that there has been an addition connected up to it where one of the midnight stones that you found is placed in a setting there.
Is this connected, Sunya?
Well, yeah, I mean that you sequential and Sunya and Sorashana had previously explained that
Oh, okay.
this
Pardon me.
is yeah this is how she had been able to have enough power to fly without being at like fully crewed, so to speak.
Right. Right. Okay.
One of the other questions to ask, though, although we don't have Starlight at the moment, is you previously all discussed that Sorashana had improved the uncertainty factor of the Vidunme deck, but nonetheless, nothing happens with it if nobody uses it. It is an extremely powerful artifact level item that nobody is currently using for anything for, perhaps fair reasons, but nonetheless, right now, nothing is happening with it at all. So the question becomes, is anyone planning to actually use and attune to this Vidunme deck?
We would need.
I mean,
As a
it is.
reminder, it is very powerful. It can do lots of things.
We do actually need to try some of it. I
Well, I
can
could-
make it available.
Yeah, I could give up the dagger of blind sight, but then I'd lose any kind of night vision.
I can just remove a ring. It's not really that important. If you're prepared to, in case something goes wrong, and
Yeah, I'll make sure I have remove curse.
but I can try it. I am curious as to what it does and how powerful it is. And if we can extract Izeld, although I'm not entirely sure if she would be helping us just now.
What did Sunya say? Last in, last out?
That was Sorashana, but
Or, yeah. That's
she
that's too many S names.
what she said is that might be how it works, given that, as far as you know, Isilda was the last one to go in, but it might also be random. You can't know for sure.
And I'm not entirely sure if she was the last one to go in, given that technically happened 90 years ago.
Well, yeah, but wasn't it kind of stuck in a weird
Yeah, I mean, it was
time
buried.
pocket?
It was, well, it wasn't. There was the weird sort of alternate layer of the Reclaimer's Mansion that you were in, but you also found it buried under rubble where it fell after that sort of moment. So you're right that in theory it's possible, but it seems probably unlikely that someone else found it, attuned to it, got something else stuck in there, and then put it back under the rubble there where it would have fallen after she got stuck in it. So it's not impossible, but it doesn't seem to be the most likely explanation.
It might be a good idea to land somewhere midway between here and Emershem and try it once, just to see.
Well, bear in mind when you say try it once, this is not a thing. So the way this works is not, nightmare, I release you. It does lots of things, and when you use it, there is a chance that something is released.
Do we actually know what it will do though? Because all we
Okay.
know is it will trap or release people right now.
All right, so it's been a while, to be fair. We have gone over this before, but I'll tell you again what it does. Because you've identified it pretty thoroughly, and Sorashana has studied it more. It will give anyone who uses it proficiency to insight checks if you don't already have it, resistance to psychic damage. You can use an action to cast comprehend languages, detect evil and good, detect magic, detect poison and disease, locate object, or scrying. You will automatically succeed on Constitution saving throws to maintain concentration on divination spells. And in particular, one of the big things that it can do is you can draw a card from the deck and twist the fortune of another creature you can see within 15 feet of you. You can choose either wheel, which is WEAL, and give that creature advantage on attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws for the next hour, or woe, where they have disadvantage on all of those things for the next hour. And it is when you do that, either direction, there's a 15% chance of something being released.
So the only way to release Izeld is to use it.
Yeah.
And maybe frequently.
And you can only do that twice per day.
It's only when you do the wheel or woe.
Yeah.
Okay, so you could get the other benefits of it though.
There's also, but if you don't use the wheel or the twist of fate property, if you don't use it for a full 24 hours, it unattunes to you. There's also a slightly creepy effect, which is that while attuned to this deck, non-magical flames are extinguished within 30 feet of you, and any creature which attempts to sleep within 30 feet of you will have unsettling dreams. But that can be avoided just by whoever's attuned to it, just sort of being a little bit off to the side when you sleep.
I mean, I don't mind trying again. This time I've learned a lot, and we know what bad things can happen.
I mean, attunement stuff isn't set in stone either. So, I mean, if you need to use one of your other items and you're not planning on using that, you can always just take an hour and reattune to something else.
So I know you guys have a bunch of stuff, and I have my mandolin, and that's it. And I could take this, and then you guys don't have to give anything up.
Do you feel comfortable? I know you're kind of scared of these items.
Well, I don't like them, but I think you guys will take care of me if anything bad happens.
As long as you're sure. The ring that I have isn't that much, and I could always give it to you if you wanted to use it.
What is it?
A simple protection against force, magic.
Well, we could always just let her try it. I mean, you have an opportunity to try one of those amazing items, and you
It's
also
true.
have the backpack. And
Evan, who had been quiet off to the side, gives a big sigh and stands up and says, "I'll do it."
No.
No?
No.
no,
Okay,
not this
well,
time.
uh,
But
All right. Well, I mean, like,
here,
Yeah.
Evan.
I will. I would do it.
It's okay. It's my turn. Everybody has carried one of these things at one point or another. I gotta do it.
Evan,
And Nedry will take off that ring.
Huh?
you can hold this one.
Cool.
I will
Just-
also bedeck him with my cloak of billowing.
Aww. He billows it.
So yeah, if he
He's
attunes to
got his new ring and he's standing there and the cloak billows. Yeah.
it, if he attunes to it, it's the ring of
It's like resistance.
resistance.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Which
I
I've had
think,
for-
like, immunity to the magic missile spell, I believe.
Nope.
No?
nope, it's
Not-
just resistance to force
Okay.
damage. That's the only thing it does.
Okay.
It's not a ring of shielding. That's
Okay.
the other one.
Yeah. All right, cool. You've made him very happy with that. So I think then, Carolina, you may add to your character the Isildur's Vidunme of Nightmares. If you can't find it, I'll put it on there for you.
Yeah, I searched for it. I found it.
Yeah, and on that day, I want to make sure that I have remove curse myself as well. Memorized.
I think I always have that prepared ever since you were cursed.
I don't, but I have a lot of spells.
And you might want to just double check that. Like, obviously this is a homebrew item. I'm not 100% sure that all of the different properties are going to automatically populate to the little, like, normal resistances section and all that. So you just
Well, defenses definitely popped up as a resistance.
Well, my
Psychic-
goal was that they would work, but I
Right.
I just can't be 100% sure.
Hmm.
But yeah, all right. So as you attune to it, there is sort of a you feel just for a moment sort of a chill breeze like blow through the room, and you see that there's just like a candle that was off to one side, just sort of trails of smoke, and you hear just barely at the edge of your perception a strange little trill of a violin, but it's not a recognizable tune. But yes, so you are attuned to it now, and this is it. There's in the description it explains there. This is very much like a tarot deck, just so people understand what we're talking about here. But it's a different. It's the Sekamian version. It's called Vidunme. It's not tarot. But you do understand that you have this Twist of Fate ability now, but that if you do not use it, for 24 hours, it will, the deck will unattune to you.
Is it 24 hours or because the thing says 7 days?
Oh, you know what? Maybe I think you're right. Yes. Sorry. I was looking at the thing that said it can be used twice and you regain expended uses at the next dawn.
Yeah, shuffling fate. If you go 7 days,
Ah,
without
yes.
using-
You're right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
That's
That's
easier.
better because we don't always fight every day.
Yeah.
Well, you could
So-
you could still use the positive trait, right?
Yeah.
hmm
How do you feel?
It's a little weird. Just hope I don't have nightmares because that's really unpleasant.
No, I think the rest of us have nightmares.
Okay, well, I should probably move my stuff to another room. Wasn't there a room like it was like off the kitchens or something like that? Just
Yeah.
one little.
Hmm.
It's okay. I will watch over you and stuff too to make sure you don't have nightmares. I'm not worried about it.
And did you hear a voice?
I cast remove curse on her just to be safe.
Okay.
No,
Your spell is expended, but it doesn't like find anything.
There
She's
was
fine.
there was a little bit of violin, but it's really weird. Not a voice though. Did you hear
Violin?
voices?
Just one.
Well, no, nothing's talking to me yet.
It wasn't
But I
talking
will
in the
keep that
beginning
in
either.
mind.
You're not
Yeah, you will.
cursed. I removed curse from you, but there's nothing there.
Okay. Well, do we want to try it?
Sure.
Okay. Well, maybe we should do it like somewhere kind of open
On the
in
roof?
case something gets released, but
Maybe
also we
land
don't want it
first.
to necessarily get away.
We could do it on the roof.
Well, also it took me an hour to attune to this, so I don't know if there was landing happening in that process. or
I mean,
what.
if you wanted to have landed, we could have done that. I think you did sort of say that, but like it's entirely up to you all. I mean, because you're a few days on your way
Oh.
into the journey.
I know what we can do. We could knock on the small shrunken down tower and go inside and go through the doors and shrink down. And then we will have lots of space.
Well, yes, but maybe whatever is released won't be small. Because wouldn't it still have to
Yeah.
come through the
Well, if we took
stairs?
the cards through, they would be small. That's all I know.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really change the dimension of the thing trapped within it.
Yeah, that's true.
It works differently. And it's weird pocket dimension things, and space is not the same. Don't
Don't be
gives me a
afraid.
headache.
It's quite
Um,
impressive, actually.
I think maybe landing and having open space is better.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, if this works, maybe we could also go back to the mirror. That would be very useful, but we need to know if anything's in there.
Well, I think we determined
Maybe-
nothing was in there.
Maybe we did.
Yeah, you did. There is
Okay.
nothing in it.
But we might want to have the mirror ready.
We can
In
push
case
the
something comes out.
mirror into the tower and shrink the mirror down so that we can carry it with us.
I don't know if it'd work all that well if it's shrunk, though.
No, I mean just so we can take it. We didn't take it with us because it was so unwieldy.
Yeah, how we going to carry
That's
it?
true. We could put it
No,
in the tower.
it would
Yeah.
be like a little compact. Probably not one you want to use to touch up your makeup, though.
No.
Well, we could leave it in the tower and just bring it out when we feel we can use it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So are we going outside?
Yep.
All right.
Ivy has her notebook out.
I'm just standing on the sidelines going, holy power, activate. Just waiting for all the dads.
Well, let's bring out Buster.
Okay. Incidentally, I think Ivy, she has that sort of complicated reaction of someone who likes dogs in principle, but yours is very big. And so,
It's also
although
not
she,
a dog.
well,
Yeah.
I'm illustrating the point, okay? You understand the point I'm making, right? I'm not saying that Buster is a dog. I'm saying that it's the sort of thing where she is perhaps okay in principle with the concept until she is confronted with a gigantic thing. Is my point. You understand me, right? Like
Yes, I
like
get it, I get
okay,
it, I
all
get
right. So I'm just saying, someone who says yes, I love dogs when they have never encountered anything other than a beagle, but now here's a Great Dane. It's different.
Right.
And so like she's excited, and then she maintains like that she's happy to meet him and glad that isn't it interesting that he's here, but her eyes are always just a little bit too wide when he's around. All right. So you settle down in the middle of sort of a like a prairie somewhere.
Yeah.
Nope.
As Sunia settles down, extends out
Okay.
the stairs.
So we will go out probably just a little bit a ways from the castle. So
Buster starts romping around through the tall grass.
yeah.
Yep.
And then I mean there's only a 15% chance that anything's gonna come out. So okay. Let's see. Is there something I have to roll to determine whether or not something comes out, or is that on your end?
Well, I'll have you roll it. Yeah, it's a roll a d100,
Okay.
and on a result of 15 or lower, you.
Okay. All right. So I am going to use it to cast wheel
Mhm.
on. Well, we'll do Zinhorn this time.
Okay. All right. So you hold this deck of cards in your hand, and then you concentrate on him and draw one of the cards, and it is the 18 of dream, and go ahead and roll your.
I don't have a D100.
Well, it's just the
Isn't one of
percentile
those-
dice, right?
Oh,
It's the
okay, hold on.
d10s, right? And one
Yeah,
is
if
the
you-
tens, and one is the.
If you look
Single.
on D&D Beyond, there's two things next to each other that look like D10s. That's the D100.
Oh, okay, I see it. Okay.
Mhm.
We'll get 67.
Okay, yeah. So, Zinhorn, as soon as you see this card, you just suddenly feel kind of invigorated and confident, and you just sort of feel like, you, you know, luck's on your side. This is a good day. You could do what you need to do. And so, to be sure, everything you would do for the next hour, you would have advantage on attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws.
All right.
How you feeling there?
I'm feeling good. Like, bring something on. I'm ready to go.
If everyone has seen
Like,
Big Trouble in
yeah.
Little China, it's like when Jack Burton is drunk from the, I feel
Potion.
pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind
I
of
feel real
invincible.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel like you
Okay.
should go ask Professor Slughorn about that memory.
I don't know. Let's go visit Hagrid.
Got a good feeling about this.
Yeah.
Nedry will cast Detect Nightmare kind of while this is all going on, just in case, and keep an eye on both of them.
Right. Although you do detect what feels like muted, muffled nightmare energy from the deck itself. You don't detect any in Zinhorn or anywhere else nearby.
All right, that seemed to work okay, but
Because I
unfortunately,
can do that twice. Do we want to do it again? Right? We do it twice.
Well, you
Or is it
can
just
you
once?
can do it twice per day.
Right. It's like as long as we're sitting here on the ground.
Do it again.
Okay. All right. Which of you wants it? Point the deck like a gun. Right,
Come on, pick a card.
we'll go with, let's see. Okay, we're doing reverse alphabetical order, so that means Zaleen is next.
Hey.
Mhm.
All right, and I will use it to cast Wheel
All right.
again.
Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Mhm. All right, go ahead and roll your percentile dice again.
82.
Okay, so once again, Zaleen, you also find that uh, you are suddenly feeling just kind of invigorated. As Carolina, you sense that, like, with the cards, you are essentially, these cards, this game of Vidunme is something that you know, like it's it's a thing like tarot, but this one is special somehow because you realize that through force of will, using it, you're essentially deciding what cards come up, but that this deck has the ability to make the card that comes up actually be what happens, as opposed to, letting the real fate determine which card it is, right?
A lot like the shell game.
Hmm.
Okay, well, I feel a little bit more comfortable now, but man, what if I keep doing that and nothing ever happens? She'll be stuck in there forever.
Think that was the bargain she was willing to make.
For whatever reason she made it.
I just
Yep.
hate to think of her stuck somewhere on the edge of death, like forever. That's awful.
Well, yeah,
She might not be aware
she
of it.
was dying, so we can. I'm ready to heal her. I'm sure Zaleen is too, as soon as she
Mhm.
comes out.
Yep.
I'm assuming that you've told Ivy the broad strokes of this, at least.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Nedry's report.
Okay.
Yep. I'm gonna use my newfound powers of the day to convince Evan to join my cult.
Sure. We'll touch
Immediately
on
using
that
it for
in just
evil.
a moment. I think one of the things that Ivy muses on as you tell her about this, and as you're experimenting with the deck, she says, "It's interesting because you certainly found that other book and identified these 7 names, right? All of these other, um, you know, Tilitha and Trandonel and Rupino and such. Uh, but Isilde and Alistair, these names are not on that list, but I wonder what the connection is."
Well, part of this song that I know talks about it's almost like it's about a defunct order of paladins, and I'm pretty sure they're related to all of this somehow, but I don't have all the pieces yet.
We could ask Rupino. He's in my pocket.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Okay. I put him back in my pocket.
Also, he would probably want his tower back right away. You know?
Well, for that
You're
matter,
right.
you have Trandonel too, so.
Yeah, we could. But no, he's cursed. We know that for a fact.
Mm.
Well, how do we know Rubino's not? You
I'm
know?
not saying we don't. I'm just we know that Trendonell has definitely got the nightmare curse.
Well, that we can deal with. At least,
True.
hopefully.
So, but yeah, back to the question. It's very possible that Isilda and freaking what's his name?
Alistair.
Alistair?
Alistair. It's possible that they are some kind of maybe like descendants of these paladins, like, and then stuff was passed down, or maybe they just weren't mentioned in the stories. Because part of me is like, there's only like a handful of people that left this island, and still all of these stories persist. I don't know.
Well, from what we understand, I think, of Alistair and Iselde's mission was essentially to remove any of the mentions of Denethir and the realms that exist. So there's a good reason why we don't find very much. People like them remove them.
Ivy speaks up at that, and I think this is something that might have come up briefly previously too. Is she just says, "Well, of course, there are law mentions of the fabled Dinuther or Dawn's tear, such as it's sometimes called, and all of these sorts of legends, but they've always been in such a sort of a vague, abstract, or allegorical sense that it's sometimes something that you trace back to the idea of perhaps there was once something there and it gradually disappeared. For example, we are seeing in our own time the way that the former city of Ushbithra has been swallowed by the Golden Plains, and I expect in a couple of 100 years ago from now, the idea that there was once a city there will likewise feel like a legend to the people of that time. But it is something that, if it is as prominent as it seems to have been, it makes sense that there might have been people on the mainland that knew about it. But it does also seem as though there has been a proactive effort from someone to try and make all references to it have that feel as though they are mere stories rather than history.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I kind of think that's what Isolde and Illister were working toward.
We could always
The,
ask Trendon more questions. We haven't cast Speak with Dead on him in a while.
there's another possibility. Um, uh, um, well, it disturbs me to think of this way, but it's possible that the adversary is from the same group as Alistair and Izeld, just on a different kind of mission. But maybe I'm wrong. I haven't studied that part of the history, so I should go read. Excuse me. And he
Do
takes
you-
off and goes reading.
Wasn't there also an expedition to this place
Yes.
at one point? And that involved Sequential's creator.
Well,
Father?
no. So this particular site, you knew that the Reclaimers had sent an expedition
Mm.
to the temple that you're talking about. And you kind of connected some dots to figure out that that's where they were talking about in the notebook that they had. So the Reclaimers had their own expedition there, but if there were any records beyond what you found of that, they were destroyed at some point.
So maybe, I don't know, the adversary could be part of that original expedition also. There's a few
Well,
possibilities.
Tanglefoot was.
Mm. That guy. Hmm. All right. Well, can't do any more with the deck, so should we get back to the flying and traveling?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, please, calls Sunia from over there.
Okay.
Come on, Evan. You're joining my cult.
Okay.
And I cast Ceremony and I induct Evan into my religion.
I don't think you even have to roll for that.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Not if he wants to. Like, if he wants to join me, then I can do it.
If you ask him nice, then he does.
Okay, I do.
Yeah.
Like, I talk to him about
Sure.
that stuff, like, a lot. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So
I
now,
trust you.
yeah. Trust the mistress.
Oh. Okay.
Yep. So for like an hour, Evan and I do this crazy ceremony where he dedicates himself to the mistress of the dark. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Magically, thicker eyeliner appears on him, and his all his clothes get 3 shades darker.
Nice.
All right. So you get back underway, and the overall journey to Emershem takes about 4 days, but it is after about that much time that you hear Brennan call everybody up to the roof, and he points out, through the big spyglass that they've got, that you see not only the water, because Emershem is on the coast, but you can see the city itself, and it is certainly much smaller than Pashan, but still pretty big as these things go. This is not a small village or anything of that nature. Bigger than Gorn even. But it is on the water, so it has a big docks area, and it's also just kind of very sort of like you got palm trees and sandy beaches, and it's a little bit more like scrub landscape before you get out to the coast. You made it! It's Emershem! The place that you originally set out for in session 29, and we're now in 70. You made it.
Yay.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
We watch it sink into the sea.
No, just the part with the library.
Yeah.
Just for
Yeah, they have a
reference,
library.
Spontaneously collapses.
Mhm.
just for reference, that was exactly like 1 year and 4 weeks ago. Because I
Goes to
was
show
just,
that if you put your mind to it,
Mhm.
eventually.
I was,
It's not about the destination. It's about the friends you make along the way. Or something like that. I don't know.
Well, also you gained some levels since then, so.
Phew.
Turns out it's a level 2 area.
What were
Yeah,
we
you're
so
gonna get
afraid
there and
of?
just walk over everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess at this point, Yobert kind of just consults each of you and says, "So this may not be something that you have considered, but Sunia does tend to make an impression, and so I guess the question would be, as we approach Emershem, if you want to do some investigation there." Do you want to have made an impression or not?
probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
The less people we alert to our arrival in a grand way, probably the better.
I,
And
sus-
if-
I
if-
suspected that might be the case, which is why I ask.
I mean, for
Should've-
all we know, there's more than Isilda and Alistair that were, protecting this stuff. And yeah, I think subtle is best.
Although at least we may not have to worry about the adversary for a little while. Until we have to worry about the adversary, of course.
How do we know? I mean, we don't know. He could,
One can dream.
yeah, that's it. So we would sit down outside the city, like
Okay.
far enough away that we don't draw
Mhm.
too much attention.
Right. There might still be people see that a flying castle was flying nearby. You're not like a day's ride outside of the city, I don't think. But to make the point, essentially, it's not like something where you're landing in the center of town and everyone watches you come out, right? So.
I would like to set up the tower
Mm-hmm.
while there, next to Sunya, and let Sorashana go in
Okay.
with sequential, like while we're gone,
Mm-hmm.
so that she can take a look at all the fancy stuff in there and see what she thinks.
Okay, yeah, I think she's definitely interested in that. But you're going to go into the city without the tower then.
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't think. Do you think we should, or
I'm just asking you.
I know I was asking Lynn there with her face all twisty. You're on mute. I can't hear you as you're degrading me.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, hopefully we don't need to like hide real fast somewhere or sneak an entire group of us in somewhere. It'll be fine, I'm sure.
There were days before we had a tower. What did we do then?
Fell out of the sky.
Yeah. But I mean, maybe there's something about the tower that Sorashana could learn that could make our use of it even better.
Well, if we're gonna get going, we should
Mhm.
get going.
Right.
So I think in order to be sort of far enough out to not be too conspicuous, you probably have a couple. I don't know. I guess you all tell me how far out of town you would have landed. I think because there's a little bit of sprawl, so it's if you really want to not have any possibility that anyone sees you, you probably have a few hours to walk. But you could be a little further out.
I mean,
Maybe
still
have
have a
some
horse?
old farmer. I don't
I
think
don't think so.
Mm-mm. If you would
He
have
was
left
in
them.
the tower, and I don't think we forgot about him. He's
And he's
dead in
still
the tower.
technically in the tower.
No, I'm going to rule that the horse was left at the observatory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
So what do we think? Like 2 hours max out of town, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we
that
can
seems
at least
reasonable.
make it back here like in the same day.
Yeah.
All right. Are you bringing Buster? Because if you're not bringing the tower, you can't have him there.
Unless we let him out.
I mean, you could. That's why I'm asking if you're bringing him.
Do you really want to like walk around in a strange
I think
city?
we decided on subtle, didn't we?
Yeah.
The thing about Buster is subtle.
Yeah.
If you want to take Buster, then I will just make a promise to Sorashana that when we come back, I will set up the tower and I will take the tower so we can take Buster and we have it in case of an emergency. Does that work for you?
I mean, we have an
Um,
Evan and an Ivy now. Which
Yeah,
is not a Buster,
so-
but
Right. But let's leave Buster in the tower for now.
And leave the
Yes.
tower here?
We're
with
talking.
Sorashana?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, because we're going subtle.
Right.
All right. So I think on the way, Ivy will kind of share what she has heard about Marushka, which lines up to a large extent with what you had previously heard as well, which is that she is a spirit of the water with some connection to the land as well, which is a little bit unusual, but not entirely out of alignment with how many different planes have sort of ocean voyage spirits. And so primarily the people who like pray to her and worship her, it's all in the interest of hoping for a safe voyage and successful fishing and that sort of thing. Like that's generally what her the people who follow her are asking for. She says that Marushka tends to not be very personable, like it's a very sort of aloof relationship, and that some of what the stories that have been told of people who convert, so to speak, like they don't really think they need to do anything and then they change their mind, tends to be when they encounter a really rough storm at sea, and if they survive, sometimes they come back saying that the storm felt full of rage and despair. And so she says, and it's possible, given some of what you've shared with me, that if Marushka once had the domain of not merely the sea, but more, including where Dinuther was itself, and that somehow that has been severed from her, perhaps that is the anger and the despair that she is feels, not whole. That's speculative, of course, but it could potentially align with what we've heard.
And given what we've already learned about water spirits, they do tend to be that way. Like once they're separated, they either mellow out or they get really grouchy.
Yes. To be sure, the more wild a spirit is, the further it is from any sort of civilization, the less it tends to align with, mortal or humanoid conceptions of rationality or understandable emotion. They become wilder and more difficult to understand. It seems as
If
though there is at least some relationship. People do make offerings and such.
if if Marushka was connected somehow to Dinethir, and there is active forces trying to hide Dinethir, they may have done the severing.
That
No,
does seem possible that somehow, if Dinether is magically sealed away in some fashion, then perhaps that, in and of itself, prevents Marushka from accessing that part of herself. Now, that would be the first that I've ever heard of a spirit being divided in such a fashion. I mean, it is certainly true that spirits, like a large spirit, can be broken up into multiple smaller ones in many different ways. This happened with the spirit of Lake Elamond, and here not too long ago, historically speaking, of course. But typically, each subsequent spirit sees itself as a new identity, a new entity. You don't typically have the original spirit with a sense of loss or missing pieces. They are what they are. They don't feel like they have a missing half. Even if they are diminished from what they once were, they don't sense a missing piece. At least
Well,
that's what I've studied.
maybe it's more like there was a the spirit is still intact, but like there's part of it has been walled off. So it still
Hmm.
exists and b- but not being able to I would imagine it would be like sort of like how Lord Yobert's new chair and he has lost some functionality of himself and it makes him very sad because he remembers what it was like to
Hmm.
be full of energy and you know complete in a way, I suppose. It
Perhaps
has to be very sad for Marushka.
the analogy that came to mind for me was the separation between our conscious or subconscious mind. That perhaps there are whole aspects of herself that she cannot consciously access, but senses their presence nonetheless. Or they might even still influence her without her realizing why or what's happening. To be sure, she is thought of as a somewhat fickle, unpredictable spirit. Even to those who make their offerings, there's a general understanding that there's no guarantees with her. She doesn't have clerics, so to speak.
Hmm. Spirit that doesn't want clerics.
may not be able to if that's part of what's cut off or separated. Although, do spirits dream?
That's a probably impossible question to answer. In my experience, spirits inhabit an entirely different sort of consciousness. I mean, after all, we've seen spirits that can it vary all the way from something that is entirely alien and difficult, impossible for us to process, all the way to spirits who seem as though they might as well be a mortal creature. It varies so much depending on what sort of spiritual energy is fed into them. And So I don't know that there's any sort of a question like that that could be answered for all spirits. Perhaps some do. So as you're having this conversation, you're certainly you're walking along a very long, straight, flat road with kind of like a little bit of desert scrub on either side. There's some cacti here and there, a lot of sagebrush type stuff. But it's also getting a little bit more verdant. You're seeing a little bit more grass here and there, and certainly you're smelling the salt air coming in on the breeze from the water, and you're passing more and more structures as you get closer into the center of town.
What do the structures look like? Is there a particular sense of the archetype or the architecture here?
To be sure, there's not the same like diversity to the buildings as there is in Pashan. There is a little bit more of a sense that uh, buildings either need to be much better able to withstand sort of the ravages of the sun and the sea and the wind and everything, or else they end up just sort of very worn and faded looking. So you see a lot of buildings where, they do look like, gosh, that was probably painted a bright green once upon a time, and now it's very, flaked and paled and faded and so on. But then there are also lots of others that, look a little bit more better maintained, but you see a lot of, like, clay brick rather than stone brick, adobe style, that sort of thing, and less wood just in general, or at least it's not exposed, like it might have like stucco over it or something, just because it's better able to withstand the elements that way.
And how big a city does this appear to be?
It's, like I said, pretty big. Now, it's not anywhere close to Pashan. It's much smaller than that, but it's bigger than Gorn. So I'm bad at giving you a number, but I would say it's medium.
Somewhere between Gorn and Bashan.
Yeah. So I would say in a fantasy setting, it's still pretty big, but it's substantially smaller than Pashan. Pashan is enormous.
And does there seem to be a lot of traffic coming into the city?
Yeah, I think you get passed by a couple of wagon caravans, and then you're not on the tracks right now, but there is, you can see kind of off to the south of you. You occasionally see some lightning rail trains pass by. There must be some tracks over there, but you're on a regular road. And occasionally you see airships in the sky too. There's not a big skyport tower here, but you imagine that the ones that are capable might land in the water, at the docks there, or they might have some other sort of an open parking area, so to speak, for the ones that can't land in the water.
And we didn't have a sense of what the temple might look like or where it is, right?
You know that it's not in the city. It is, I think you had the impression that it was south of the city. You had some general directions that I think if you were to explore while looking for it, you might find it, but you don't know for sure. But you suspect that there are people in the city who just know where it is, could just tell you, instead of having to look for it based on a description.
So why don't we go and see if there's a historical society or a library or someplace like that where we might find out, or like maybe somebody runs old spooky temple tours or something.
Well,
And
that we absolutely could do that, but I would also suggest that the primary people who would interact with the temple would be the sailors who would go there to make offerings. So perhaps the docks.
Yeah.
Or perhaps we could split into two teams. I'm just trying to offer what I can. I believe it would be the sailors that would be the most active in terms of visiting the temple.
And a good place to find them is generally a pub.
Ah, well, there is that.
I would like to say let's split up and some of us go to the library, but I'm having trust issues with libraries. So I will be on the team that goes to the pub.
Well, they don't know me here, so the library might be okay.
I will be scared for you the whole time you're gone.
Just
Okay,
me then?
so?
Okay.
I could accompany you to the library.
I've never been to a pub.
Ahem. All right.
I'll tell you
I
I
what.
think it's probably better if we stay together anyway.
Oh, if very well, I will follow your lead.
Mhm.
All right then. And I will set off and then get about 4 steps out and realize that I don't know where I'm going. Which way are the docks?
Well, I mean, you can see the water. Like it's like you know, you walk you know how to like that way to the water. So
Okay.
yeah.
Um, I was just
Go
gonna
ahead.
say, like, depending on where Nedry is walking, I'm actually going to like kind of draw Ivy aside
Mhm.
and like beg her pardon for his behavior and just sort of explain to her that he doesn't have a lot of experience like with unfamiliar people.
Uh, I yes, well, I did come up through academics and spent a fair amount of time traveling amongst people who are of very different types and cultures, and so to some extent, I understand. Although I suppose if you had any advice on how I could uh, at least provide a salve to any awkwardness or discomfort he might feel.
Just don't give up. I mean, he's very hard to sort of get to unless you're smart, and you are smart. So keep talking to him about things that he can relate to when he gives you the opportunity. I know that's not easy, but he's not doing it to be mean. I don't think he even realizes that he's doing it.
Oh, I think I understand, but I appreciate that. It's good to have a bit of a sanity check there.
It's not you. It's definitely not you.
Um,
Well, I mean,
meanwhile,
it
Nedry's
kind of is,
casting a
but
spell.
Oh?
Um, yeah, it's kind of it draws a little sort of compass in the air in front of him,
Mhm.
and whispers a name into the compass to activate the locate creature spell.
Okay.
And he's going to maintain this for the next hour. Um, he's not entirely sure if it will work,
Mhm.
but if it does, he wants to know. So he's going
Okay.
to whisper Tanglefoot's name
Okay.
in the locate creature.
Mhm. All
It
right.
only works really if it doesn't work if he's polymorphed. I don't know if that's what he does, but
Mm.
he's still going to try it and maintain that sort of vigil.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you don't get any pings at least when you cast it. I'll certainly let you know if that changes.
Yep, it's within 1,000 feet for an hour. So
Right. Okay. So you're making your way towards the water. And you do eventually realize that kind of if you go a little bit more that way, it seems like there's like less structures over there, but then you see the masts of some ships um, on the horizon in that direction, and so you start heading a little bit more towards that way to find the docks neighborhood, figuring that you know where there's sailors there will be a pub and vice versa. um, and so, sure enough, there is uh, you know, there's a pub there called the Salty Dog. and it seems like it's got a fair amount of activity in there.
As we're like approaching the door, I'm just gonna lean into Caroline and be like, "You do know a lot of sea shanties, right?"
A few,
Good.
but I think I have a different approach for something like this.
Well, no, I just mean like if they ask you to sing. 'Cause
Oh, sure,
this
sure,
is-
sure.
This is your kind of place, right?
Absolutely. Home away from home, and sometimes a home. Okay, so I think upon entering, do a quick scan and look for the most grizzled, weathered looking son of a sailor that is in this place.
Sure,
So-
sure.
I have to suggest though that as soon as you walk in, there is that moment of the presence, as any candle or fire or
Yeah.
thing goes out when you walk in.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Now-
blame it on me.
Now, I think, fortunately, this place does have some magical illumination that, so it's not like all of a sudden it's dark in there. But I think that there is a little bit of you enter and there's a little, there's a couple of candles here and there that go, and, people kind of look around like, was there a breeze? What was that?
Drafty old pup.
Yeah, so go ahead and make a perception check to, or no, you know what? I think what you want here, honestly, is an insight check.
Oh, and
Right?
I have like advantage or something on those, right?
You sure?
on.
Well, you can add your proficiency to it if you didn't already have that.
For a perception check, you said?
For insight.
Insight.
Yeah.
Well, I already have proficiency.
Okay. Well, so you don't get an additional bonus there,
Okay.
but yeah. You would get proficiency even if
Okay.
you didn't have it previously, but
Okay.
But because this is insight, because it's not just about finding someone crotchety. I mean, the goal here is you're wanting to find someone who's like gonna
Looks
be
like they
willing to
know
talk to
stuff.
you. Yeah, knows
Yeah.
knows you and would be willing to talk to you.
All right. So yeah, maybe if there's someone that's got like some kind of a pipe or little flute thingy,
Mhm.
kind of bard-ish. Oof, that did not go well. That's an 11.
Okay. Well, yeah. So I think you find you find someone that you think is the most likely of the crew that's in here now. I think it's still relatively like it's like maybe like 2 in the afternoon. So this is not the evening crowd.
It's the retired sailors.
Sure. Yeah. So, but you see someone who you think is the best of the available sort, although he looks a little bit perhaps more crotchety than ideal. But the best of the available crowd.
Part of me is wondering if maybe I shouldn't ask the barkeep for guidance. 'Cause they
I will
tend to
give
know
you
everyone.
guidance. So, so now you have
Barkeep
a D4.
gives you the blessing of the bar.
Yeah. Now you can roll a D4 to an ability check. So.
Well, I can't do like I've already rolled the thing.
No, I mean if you have to go talk to
next
them or
time.
whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. Like if you find somebody that you need to talk to, then you can.
All right, so I gotta think because I don't want to just like walk up to the dude and be like, "Hey, so tell me about the Temple of Marushka." No, that seems needs
What
subtle,
if
right?
what if we like sit at a table near him and start talking about something that might catch his attention?
I think that's a better approach. Yeah. So I'll find a table kind of near him, and
Okay.
just casually walk over and sit down and
Get some drinks and
yeah.
start talking about temples or something.
Yeah. So I think that they have they have in this place some tropical fruit drinks that are unfamiliar. Like not that you couldn't get them in Pashan, because Pashan you can get just about anything, but just like there's some variations on the menu that you're not familiar with.
I think instead of that, I would just
Like
get
there's
what.
like what is this one? Hex on the beach? What is that?
I will get that. That's what I'm having.
Feel free to toss in other magic or fancy style drink names, cocktail names.
I
But
would probably just look at what the people that seem to be locals, what
Mhm.
they're drinking, and I will order whatever that is. Pint
Yeah.
of the house,
Mhm.
best, whatever.
Certainly your target seems to have a shot of something brown and a beer.
Yeah.
Does this one come with an umbrella?
Yeah.
The bartender, who is a lady orc, uh, shoots you the finger guns and then puts a little umbrella in your drink.
We're so tourist.
I feel like I've worn the wrong face for this place, but it's okay.
Go back out and come back in.
Yeah.
Try again.
Well, I think Ivy would be super confused, and I'd not want to have that conversation.
Oh, so
today.
so in all of the things you've shared with her, you have not shared that. Okay.
Nope,
All right.
nope. It has not been explicitly asked of me.
Fair.
Nelson Devereaux danced around stuff a little bit, but neither confirmed nor denied
Well,
anything.
she hasn't brought it up either.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
Well, you could just be all like doing that thing that you did in the beginning where you'd be like, I'll be right back, I'm going to the bathroom, and then you come back, it's someone else.
Hey,
This-
funny running
this
into
orc
you
just
here.
sits down in front at the tables. Hey, what's up? You look new in
Yeah.
town.
Haven't seen
Yeah.
you since Bashan.
So what are we talking about? Temples or something?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we can talk about temples, and
Hmm?
we can just
He's
start
gonna take
talking
out his
about.
book.
I would like to request that you all display for me the conversation that you have designed to be overheard. Like, at least a taste of it, right? You know. What is this conversation you're having that you're hoping will be overheard?
So we are. I don't know. This journey that we're supposed to be going on, like, I'm a little worried about, sea voyage. I mean, I'm just not used to boats, so I don't know.
I know, but they say that if you pray at the right temple to these water spirits, that it can provide a good journey and safe passage to where we're going. And I mean, I don't know. It just seems like there's so much water around here. There's got to be a temple,
Well,
right?
you would think that the captain of our ship that, we hired would have, advised us accordingly. Do you think they do that stuff on their own, or like should passengers go and do that too?
I feel like passengers should do that too. I mean, putting ourselves in the care of the spirits is an important thing.
Well, of course, it's very, very important, but I don't know. I haven't spent that much time out at sea. I really only read about it in books and stuff, but I don't know. I'm just so nervous about it. If something happens.
So, is anyone else joining in on that, or is just letting them kind of run with it? Or anyone else doing anything else?
I think Nedry's sort of watching the conversation a bit confused because he doesn't remember anything about a boat. And just sort of opens up his book and starts scanning.
According to the guide, there's supposed to be some sort of big temple around here, but I didn't see anything on the way in. Something Marumiya, something like that.
But Maruka?
I think incidentally in all of this, Evan at some point says, "Wait, I want to check something," and then he disappears from the pub for a moment.
Does he come back as an orc?
Why?
He picked up a few
Like,
tricks along the way.
I think he leaves and then another orc comes in and then doesn't acknowledge you.
And we're like, Evan?
My name is Breck.
Hi, Brett. It's nice to meet you. You look like
Oh.
our friend Evan there for a second.
Oh well, I mean, I don't know Evan, but it's nice to have a kind of a friendly greeting around here. I mean, usually everyone's so crusty.
Yeah, these places can be like that.
uh, so I think unless you want to just now suddenly start talking with Breck.
Yep.
Well, okay. How about this, Carolina? You can make a performance check with advantage with the original conversation you were having.
20 and 23, so
Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. So I think that you definitely are kind of keeping an eye on this guy near you as you're having this conversation, and every time you specifically get like a detail wrong or ask a specific question, you can see there's almost like a twitching in his shoulders, almost like, no, I have to mind my own business. They didn't ask for your help. I don't need to just say everything that comes into my mind all the time. People don't like it. And you can almost see him uh, trying not to jump in unwelcome to this conversation. But then I think as soon as Nedry says Marumia, he says, actually, I'm sorry, I couldn't help it over here. The sea spirit, these parts is named Marushka. That's probably who you were talking about.
Oh, that's it.
Marushka, that's right. Someone that was mentioned to us. Do you know much about it?
Oh well, I mean, Marushka is not the type to let herself be known that thoroughly, but I suppose I'd know her better than most folks around these parts.
Oh, well, come over here and tell us about it. And I'll grab us some more drinks. And I want to kind of signal for another round for this guy.
Oh no, I couldn't possibly. As he is going ahead and moving over to your table.
I like how Evan's just been replaced.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
He
where's
was empty for
Evan?
a second and he
Mhm.
left.
Yeah.
He comes
You're our
back
friend
and he's
now.
like,
All right. So yeah, you get him another drink, and he's just like, well, so my own experience. I'm retired now, but I was a fisherman for 35 years.
oh wow.
In the
Ah.
oceans and shoals around Emershem. And
That's a
Oh, so
noble
you must have
profession.
so much experience out on the water. And
yeah, I got around. Yeah.
so would you often go and present prayers to Marushka?
Well, not so much prayers, right? She's not really much like the conversational type, right? She's aloof, she's mysterious, right? She's you know, hides herself. She'll tell you what she's feeling with the color of the dawn or the high the crest of her waves, but you're not really having a verbal conversation, so to speak. But I do well, I did once, when I was regularly going out, every month I'd go in and stop in at the temple, make an offering.
What are what is standard for an offering?
Well, there's a lot of folks around here who, find like fancy seashells and, or like fish that they've caught, like some part of that. And I always thought that was nonsense. Like, she's got that. She's got fish. Right?
Completely
Like,
makes
why
sense.
why does she want some of the fish that we just took from her? Right? Like, that never made sense to me. So, I tell people this and they laugh at me, but what I used to do is I used to send away for these little ceramic figurines. They look like little kids in different positions and costumes and stuff. I get them from Pashant. I used to take a new one of those out every month. And, I don't know if she likes them or what, but I always had pretty good luck even in some of the dry years for some of my friends.
You know what you say makes a lot of sense.
I'm
Does?
figuring like what does she not have, right? When you have a friend who's already got like, uh, you know, you know, uh, uh, he's got like a lot of bread, and you're going to his house for dinner. You bring more bread? No, that's silly. You bring him something go with the bread.
Yeah, that makes an awful lot of sense. So you've been to the temple, you'd say a lot then. Pretty familiar with it?
Oh yeah, oh sure, sure. Like his this is a little way down south around the coast. But there's not so much like there's not big docks there, or not anymore. Like there used to be some, but they're not safe use anymore. But so but you anchor a little bit offshore, you go in a dinghy or whatever, and get right on in there. It's a, it's a little bit of a, spooky place if you're not used to it, But I've been there enough. I feel like I know it. It's like it's peaceful now.
Can you take us there?
Why, I mean, I don't get out very much anymore. I mean, why do you you want to go there?
Yeah.
Well, we did have a little bit of a journey coming up, and anything that we could do to, just help our help us, have smooth sailing, really.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, I
So
mean, uh, and he's actually looking a little bit uncomfortable at this prospect.
Mm.
Like he doesn't want to, but he doesn't want to say why he doesn't want to. And he's like, well, like I haven't been out on the water in a little while. I sold my ship, so like if
oh,
you've
of
got
course.
if you've got a chartered boat already, I mean, I think that your captain there will know where it is. And if you make clear you want to go down there, I'm sure he won't fight you on it.
Oh, of course. I wouldn't want to put you out
I
in
mean,
any
knowing
way.
that I've sent you on the way with some good old tips, like make me feel good, but I don't think you want me come along. I don't have a boat myself anyway.
Mm.
Has it been a while since you've been back? Like since I know you said you retired. Has it been a while
Oh,
since?
yeah, I've been working on my land legs for about 5 years now.
Hmm.
I'm sure she would like to hear from you again.
Ah, no, I don't know. I mean, like I said, she's keeps to herself. She's mysterious. Like I don't know if that's necessary. Like she knows how I feel.
I know, but it's always nice to hear from people that you care for. That's all.
Yeah. If anyone wants to make an insight check, you can.
I will.
Yeah, I'll give that a shot too, because
Mm,
he seems real uncomfortable.
mm.
Mine is a
Nope.
natural one.
Oops.
That is an 11.
Okay.
Again, this deck is not helping me.
Yeah. I think that you are like, you can tell that he's kind of holding something back, but it's hard to know what.
Well, we wouldn't want to ask you to come with us, but I don't know. I'm sure our captain is very experienced, but is there anything we should know? Any warnings or anything like don't step here and keep to the path and some we don't want to anger her at all. Is there anything that we absolutely shouldn't do?
Well, like, I don't think, as long as you're, there to pay your respects, I don't think you're not gonna do it wrong. Although, like, I mean, I hope you understand here, Marushka's, like, she does what she wants, right? Like, so
Mm,
you try to get on her good side as much as you can. That doesn't guarantee anything, right? Like,
The sea
this is,
can be very fickle.
yeah, this is not a transaction you're making.
Nedry will cast Detect Thoughts, the
Okay.
subtle version.
Okay. So the subtle version, remind me with the
With the base version, he can detect surface thoughts unless he probes
right.
deeper. Then he won't be
Okay,
protected if
but
he's
but
not
it
probed.
still looks like you're casting a spell, though, right?
Not in this case. It's an ability. It's telepathic ability.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Yeah. So in this case, then, what you are sensing is he's trying to, like, he's not telling you anything that's not true, but he does seem to be like he's kind of trying to talk around something. And he does seem like he's kind of trying to work up to it, right? Like it's not that he's trying to keep a secret from you as much as like he's not comfortable talking about it.
Okay. That does drop concentration on the other
Oh, okay.
locate
Yeah.
person spell.
Does this place make you nervous or something? You seem like you don't want to go back to some place you like.
And see if the surface thoughts reflect his actual answer.
Yeah. You. I think that there's a moment here. Let's see. There's a moment where he's a little surprised that you kind of suddenly speak up and is like, well, I mean, I just like I'm kind of settled in here, and you definitely get in the surface thoughts that it's like you're not getting a lot of detail, but part of what you're specifically getting is it's a little bit like when you've got an old rotten staircase, but it's the one that you're very familiar with, so you know where to step and where not to step, right? Like, just like when you get up to that third step, you just make sure you step near the edge where it's not going to creak so loud, and, you kind of do that. You get the feeling that there are some areas of his mind that he regularly avoids because he doesn't like thinking about it. And you're close to some of those things, but he's not quite thinking the things because he's practiced at not thinking them. But you do sense that, like, there's a little bit of anxiety around not saying the things. So, like, you get the sense that he's maybe kind of psyching himself up a little bit.
Well, I think we need some more drinks.
Well, hard to turn that and offer that kind down.
Well,
What are
you
the
have just
temple-
been so kind in offering, all of this advice. You must have some amazing stories.
Yeah, well, I got a few. I guess I'll.
And you hear in your head, Lynn,
Ask him leading questions about the temple. I'll see if I can find out what he's hiding from
Just need
inside.
some more alcohol.
Yeah.
But I'm not telepathic, so I can't tell him that.
You do get another round of drinks, and he does seem to kind of go for those a little bit more quickly than the last round, and starts getting a little bit sad drunk. And I think eventually I'll, without necessarily role playing out an entire another 10 minutes of conversation, just in trying to draw out some of these little stories from him, he eventually he tells you a lot of stuff that's kind of just incidental sorts of stories, but then he kind of comes around and says, like, well, okay, so, I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure you really want me along if you're going to see Marushka, because I think the advice I gave you is good, but it's like I told you, it doesn't guarantee nothing. My last voyage didn't go well. I I lost my first mate overboard in a storm, and I felt in the storm like I wasn't welcome anymore. And there was I felt like it's hard to explain because I don't even know. I didn't see it. I didn't make it up in my head, right? Because I was looking for my buddy that went overboard, and I thought I saw a city, but that makes no sense. There's nothing out there.
Well.
And then like as soon as I'd seen it, like I felt like I'd done something wrong, like like I'd walked into a ladies' changing room by accident or something, like I knew as soon as I saw it I wasn't supposed to have seen it, and I felt like Marushka was mad at me, and I barely made it back to shore, and I just kind of felt like maybe that was a sign. I just maybe I was done being a sailor.
Can you describe where you were when you saw this?
Well, I mean, I get,
I, well, I think that's probably not the important part here.
It's important to
I
me.
thank you for sharing that with us. That I can understand how tough that might have been. I mean, it was something you've been doing your whole life, and you just sort of gave it up.
I don't know what I saw. Like, it doesn't make any sense to have seen a city. Like, that's like,
Well,
I don't believe that. But
the
like,
ocean is
maybe
a
it was,
mysterious place.
but like, if she showed me, I thought maybe like she was trying to tell me I should go back to town and stay there.
Maybe she was trying to protect you. Not that she didn't want you there, but maybe she was afraid that something out there would hurt you and that she couldn't protect you.
Well, I mean, maybe, but like, even if that's so, like, just the same, I feel like I should follow instructions. Like the other thing though that I would say, if you go out, if you're going out there, like what did you say? What kind of expedition you were going on? What
Oh,
are
we
you doing?
just have to. We're just going by boat, just kind of down the coast or up the coast. Rather, we're going north. Um, and I get nervous about sea voyage. I haven't done a lot of
Hmm.
traveling by boat, and
Oh,
and
sure, yeah. A lot of inlanders. Don't get around on that all that much. Like I tell you, I think the airships sound scary as hell to me. I mean, like, what are you gonna do? Like, a boat's gonna float, but an airship, like, if it stops working, you're just gonna fall out of the sky. Like, that's
oh,
scary.
I
Seems scary to
know.
me.
Oh,
That's
I've,
why we're taking the boat on the
yeah,
water this
we've
time.
actually had that happen to us.
I mean,
It's
boats sink too,
terrifying.
Well,
right?
yeah.
Yes,
I
but you can
mean,
float on
Yeah,
the water, and you can swim.
not everyone can fly, naturally.
Hmm.
so I think that at about this point, Evan, who has been gone for a little while, comes back and he's holding a piece of paper and he looks like the fox who's caught a chicken. Like, he has this just beaming smile on his face, and he runs over to you, Zaleen, and says, "I found something."
Okay, I'll kind of like move away from the table just in case because I don't want to like alert this guy that we're like digging here.
Sure, sure.
So I will like take him away from the table and be
Yeah.
like, "What'd you find?"
He shows you that it looks like a notice, like a help wanted sort of notice. And he's saying, because I was just thinking, like, that's how I got the original job to spy on you guys, is I went to the job board, right? And I had some offers. And then I was thinking, well, what if maybe the job board here would have something interesting on it? And so I found one, and look, and as you read it, it says, um, diggers slash fighters wanted for expedition to nearby temple. Fighting a must. No digging experience necessary as long as you have a strong back.
Oh, Evan, this is really good. That was like brilliant.
And it has a contact address on it.
Okay, good job.
He just beams. I think actually we're also gonna have that be the spot where we will, leave our session for tonight. But you
Probably
find
just let the old man. I'll feed him drinks into oblivion and listen to his
Sure.
old sea stories
Yeah.
that probably just get bigger and bigger. And then we'll just excuse ourselves when he's good and drunk.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will find out what else awaits the pocket protectors in the city of Emershem and perhaps at the Temple of Marushka when we return for more adventure next week on so many levels.
Too many
So
So
many
levels.
many
diggers.
levels.